What is the mind? Probably most people think that's where they exist, that's their main part is in the head. But then you'd probably get confused as to which one are you. Because the mind is pretty much just like in the old cartoons when they'd have a evil thing on their shoulder, an evil version of themselves on their shoulder, and a good version of themselves on their shoulder, trying to tell them what to do. Because the mind really comes into play when we're unsure about something. In a sense, that's when we really need to have a debate in our head. But they're both you. But, that is not your main core. Your main core is further, you feel it in your body further down, but the actual real you, the physical manifestation of you, isn't even in this universe. It's in a child universe. So the universe we're in is our mother and father's place, and we come here for our experiences and our learning. So when we're given a body like this, which is capable of existing on all the dimensions, in this physical dimension, which isn't our true physical manifestation, but we've been given a vessel by our mother and father in order to experience. And part of that experience that we have the capability of is having this mind, this debating mind. Now, when the debate's over, a judgment is made. And then you have to live with that judgment because it's your judgment. And if you're wrong or off or out, reality will show you that you're out. Fear is one of these tools that will show you if you're out. If you make a judgment and you feel there's this fear around the judgment, there's probably an error somewhere. Now look, there's a million billion subjects you could have an argument about. And, you could think of anything, a thing, a boat, and you could have several different subjects just about one thing. You could talk about the building of boats, or, what they do when they're being used, and, a history of boats. You've got everything, so many subjects, we can't even begin to list them all, there's just billions. But pick anything and it's part of a subject. Now you can go bigger, you can have subjects that kind of involve lots of things. Say for example, existence or love, there's so many subjects within them, but you can talk about or think about the overall part of it. And this way you can make decisions, judgments that you live by. And they can be specific or they can be vague. It's entirely up to you. Everybody has that choice. So, take an example. So there's something you're unsure about. Say you're not sure whether you should go out tonight. Okay, so you're sitting there thinking, should I go out tonight? That's you posing a question, and then you'll get an answer, and it will be from one of the two. You can also get answers from other people. You can pull other people into the argument if you're connected to them, and you'd know what they'd say, or you would imagine what they'd say. But again, there'd be the two parts. It could be their evil side or their good side talking. Now, how do we within ourselves approach this? Should I go out tonight? What does my good self say? My good self say, you should go out, you should have fun, you should enjoy yourself. The good self might say, what about your kids? Maybe they need you around. Maybe you should be around for them. That's the right thing to do. The bad self could be could be, yeah, go out, try and pull a bird or have a fight, that would be fun, And, okay, so we've got there the two ones playing out, and you make your decision based on how you feel. If you're in that stage of life where a fight and a shag is like up there, perhaps in your youth, you'd probably follow that. And you didn't have any kids to look after. Right, then let's just say we apply the same sort of thing, but we're thinking about, let's say you've got a wife and you think she wants to go out tonight, right? And you're sort of thinking, you're using, again, you've got your good guy and your bad guy. And the good guy's going, well, she wants to go out tonight. She probably deserves a night out, She don't have to live in each other's pockets. And the bad guy's going, she wants to go out tonight. She wants to shag a bloke, She's going to cheat on you. Playing that in your head, right? Why is it doing that? What's going on? Now you're because it's easier when it's yourself because you can control your own actions, but you can't control other people's actions. But that voice inside going, she's going to cheat on you tonight, she's going out, she wants to be away from you, that's going to affect you big time, isn't it? Right? It's your wife. Okay. Right. Now let's apply the same thing, but let's think about God. And we are made in the image of God. So God is just like us. So God has a mind, I suppose. I imagine it does, since we've been given one. It's likely that God's got one too. And, God's obviously way more aligned with the truth, but would still have those two voices. Because there's a reason we've got that negative voice. And what did I say? You're thinking inside your head and you're coming up with some idea of what you're going to do for the next 10 years of your life. You've got this plan, I'm going to do this, I'm going to, it's going to take me a long time to build, I'm going to a lot of work I'm going to put into this, I've got this idea, I like it. What does the bad guy do? He comes and pokes holes in your idea. You think you're going to be able to do that? You haven't thought about this, this isn't going to work. You haven't thought about this properly, right? So it's an aid. It helps you not do stupid things. And then maybe a few months later you have considered what you pointed out and actually you've got a solution. I've got a solution. I'm going to be able to do it. And it comes along and you can't find anything, point holes in it anymore. We're going to do it. So God is going to be just the same, but on way high levels that we can't think about. Except when God turns his thoughts to you, her thoughts. And you're there like me. I'm going, God, I think I've got it. I think I've sorted it out. I've sussed it out. God is gonna look at me and go, oh yeah, he's got quite a few things sussed out there. He's doing quite well, Yeah, but has he thought of this? Boom, 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 boom. That's God's devil. Basically, that's what we call it, the devil. That is just God's side, which prods and probes and tests to see if you really have got it worked out. In a sense, maybe we need these two sides to flip, because otherwise, you can't just be sort of all nice and lovely all the time, can you? Sometimes, it is a bit of brutal honesty, is required. I mean, the bad guy, he might not always have a good point, but that's the idea, is to see what's said when you take on that position. And we don't do it out in real life, out of the lot. But when we think it in our heads, we're just coming up with something to try it out, to see if the cap fits, to see if what I say makes an impression, or does it bounce back into my face. Because, I suppose words are kind of experimental. You probably say a lot of things in your lifetime that you said for the first time, and you didn't really know how it was going to react, because, we are, essentially, our core is an emotional thing. It's a feeling. They're not words, but what the mind is able to do is to sort of analyze this feeling coming up and say some words as to what it thinks on either side, see what the result is of it bouncing back, or some is hitting home, and making judgments, making conclusions. Do they sit well? Do they create an imbalance, a fear, a not a good feeling? Maybe there's something wrong. I've got something wrong, or somebody's lying. Da 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 da. And what comes out at the end is these words that we communicate with each other, and that's, we're communicating with each other both on an emotional telepathy, if you like, wavelength, but also we're verbalizing things. We're deconstructing to understand it. We're taking it apart. We're looking at it. We're seeing it, and in the world today, we're seeing it being played out, where you've got millions of people believe this, millions of people believe this, and we've got a whole load of different beliefs all going round, and how's it affecting these individuals, and how's it affecting our planet as a whole. It's a fascinating and wonderful thing going on. It's not always pleasant, but it is fascinating and wonderful. And if you think about it, it's got to be good. It's got to be good. Because otherwise there wouldn't be anything here in the first place, like for us to use as a playground experiment. If it wasn't all good, then it would have already fucked up, wouldn't it? Anyway. So, days are now getting longer again. Just about. 22nd of December. Nearly Christmas. We're having our Christmas tomorrow. Be nice, to see people without fear. So if the fear of God was all you needed to worry about, it's that, that judgment from God. And it's a feeling. If you can connect with God, obviously you can feel it. And everybody can connect with God, and they did. Everybody has in their lifetime been in connection with God. Just before I made this video, I was singing a Johnny Cash song. And the circle won't be broken by and by, Lord, by and by. Papa sang bass, Mama sang treble, me and little brother were joined right in now. Singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days, and it won't be long, I'll rejoin them in a song. In the sky, Lord, in the sky. And the circle, And I was singing it really loud. And I started to get this thing which I've had before, usually after a spliff or something. But people say they experience this in migraines, that they get like these star shapes. And I was getting this star shape like on the side, and I was trying to roll this. I couldn't, I couldn't even see it properly. It was, and I don't let it bother me that much. I sort of allow it. It doesn't seem to be a problem. I did have epileptic fits when I was younger. Whether that's something to do with it, anyway. If I was driving, I'd probably pull over. If it sort of came on while I was driving or something. Anyway. But to me that's when that happens, it's like I'm connecting to another realm. Is maybe there was a communication there, like I'm going to be seeing my family. I could go over there now and see half of them, but I'm not doing that. I'm baking a cake and I'm taking my time and I'm taking it easy. So part of it, I wasn't sure if it was a judgment from that, or I don't know. I don't know why I mentioned it, but yeah, I do think it's to do with, I think when that happens, and the sort of people it happens to tend to be sort of sensitive to the other realms. Anyway, what was I saying? The judgment of God is what you should fear. And not fear, don't fear anything, but recognize fear. Start to recognize when fear approaches. Some fears ought to be, you should always be allowed to allow whatever needs to happen. You should always be allowed to allow any sensation go towards the core. That should never ever do you harm to allow, to be open. Because there's quite often when fear has surrounded something because you ran away from it in the first place. Perhaps you were told to, And once you run away from it once, if it comes up again, straight away you're going to go, no, run away, right? And once you've done that a few times, you're just so anti this thing that you can do it in a split of a second. So quick. No, not going there. If you sit and meditate and just allow, I've said this before, but the moment you decide to go through with it, you're already halfway done. The worst is over. So that's so it's a different type of fear, basically. Another type of fear that sort of can be your friend, it sort of just, the more sensitive you get to sort of fear being over there sort of thing, right? And then you have this idea, you have this thought, oh, is that true or something in your mind? And if you feel that fear come nearer, it's basically a way of saying, no, you're wrong about that. That's not correct. And this is probably more to do in thinking your theories of existence, of what you think it's all about. Basically you. What are you all about? Isn't that the big question? The fear of death, the fear of ceasing to exist. That can bring on a fear, thinking that you would cease to exist. It does me. It was a long time since I've felt that I've ceased to exist. But probably, when my death nears, there's still going to be that little hint of, what if there isn't anything? But so that's a fear that's showing you there's an error. And it comes from God because we're in God. We're effectively made within our mother and father's realm. So, everything that's guiding us is our mother and father. So when you've got a theory and you want to bring it to your mother and father, you will experience the fear of God. You will experience that side of God prod holes in your theory, because that's the quickest way. And so we shouldn't be ashamed of our ability to, prod holes in others when you feel it's right. When you feel it's right. So feeling always comes first. If you live your life basing it on your feelings first and then react, I think you'd always do well. Anyway. I think I've dribbled on for long enough. Have I? The length of the video might put some people off. So, I'm going to mention a few little update bits. I think 2022 is going to be interesting. So I say I have a feeling there's going to be the issues with solar flares. I've had a couple of episodes in the last few days, and it probably is just my wisdom teeth moving. It probably nothing to do with solar flares, but I don't know. I don't know if radiation has some effect on when the teeth decide to start moving. I really don't know. Anyway, so quite possible I just had some wisdom teeth movement that was causing me some, I say pain. It is a pain, but then this is how you interpret pain, sometimes it was pain when I was trying to resist it. Like last night, I don't know how many hours I was feeling it in bed. An hour? Maybe an hour and a half? I don't know, maybe I was falling asleep in between. It was going on for a few hours. But when you resist it, when you don't like it and you want it to go away, then I'd call that pain. Right? But otherwise, when you're just feeling it and it's doing its thing and you're not resisting it, then that's usually healing. It's usually fixing something. So anyway, whether solar flare caused or radiation linked, can't say for sure at all at the moment, but I think we're going to have more of this to come in the new year. The sun is very active at the moment, and the Earth's magnetic field is quite weak. That's one of the issues why we're getting more of it, is the Earth's magnetic field has been gradually weakening as long as we've ever been measuring it for. It's been getting gradually weaker. I thought sometimes maybe it's because we're driving a lot of metal vehicles around and moving metal. Does that affect the magnetic field? I don't know. Or it's just part of the long-term phase that the Earth's magnetic field go, and this is the main theory, obviously. Not cars moving about the planet, but that it's a big long cycle, and it's been getting weaker and weaker and weaker until it gets to a point where it flips, and we get pole reversal, which there is plenty of evidence for, and then maybe strong again straight away and starts to weaken, or whether that it starts to build strength past. Don't know. So, but anyway, it will have. I think it's going to have an effect on us. So, the thing to do is have peace be within you. So, as soon as you feel a sensation coming on, I can feel one on this side of the tooth at the moment, a little, not very strong. But as soon as you feel any sensation, allow it. Allow it to come in so that you don't build up the resistance and the pain increases, and then it takes longer to deal with. Nip it in the bud. That would be my resolution for 2022. Nip it in the bud. Okay. Ciao for now.